Good morning. I'm Garrett Martin, President and CEO of the Maine Center for Economic Policy, which is a think tank based in Augusta, dedicated to improving the lives of low and moderate income Mainers. And I'm here today to facilitate the press conference and support our speakers in their presence here today too. So, good policy changes lives. It puts money in workers' pockets, keeps families housed, and strengthens our economy. It centers human dignity. People expect government to level the playing field and expand opportunity so everyone can pay their bills and support their families. Right now, the opposite is happening. Let's be clear. Trump's chaotic and dehumanizing economic agenda isn't helping working Mainers struggling with rising costs. It's making things worse. What's the real agenda? Blocking federal funds, slashing vital programs, laying off workers who keep Maine's economy and environment strong. It's all about giving billionaires and big corporations more tax cuts. That's the real agenda. Today, you'll hear from Mainers living with the consequences of Trump's broken promises to hardworking people. Lost jobs, uncertainty, and dreams deferred. Maine's congressional delegation, and thank you to representatives who are here today, must step up to protect workers, families, and small businesses. We're counting on our members of Congress to put the people of Maine ahead of Trump's billionaire backers and corporate cronies, and to defend Congress's power to decide where our tax dollars go. Together, we have the ability to build an economy that works for everyone, but we can only do so when government works for the people, not just the rich and the powerful. So I'd like to call up our first speaker, and I will say that we'll call up each speaker individually, and then there will be time for questions afterwards. So our first speaker is Everal Eaton, who is with the Bar Harbor Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you. Yes. Just up the city. All right. Good morning, everyone. Again, Everal Eaton from the Bar Harbor Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to start off by saying our national parks are in crisis. More than 1,000 national park staff have been fired, and another 700 took offered resignation letter. That's nearly 10% of the National Park Service staff gone in the first 5 weeks of the administration. Acadia National Park is often ranked as one of the most visited national parks in the country and a key driver of Maine's economy. In 2024, nearly 4 million visitors visited Acadia National Park, spending nearly $475 million in communities near the park and supporting over 6,600 jobs. One of the key things that we're worried about at the Bar Harbor Chamber of Commerce is the visitor experience. So many people talk about their stories about visiting Acadia National Park for the first time and the excitement when they stop in our visitor center and talking to the park staff. The park aims to hire 150 seasonal staff each year. In late January, 30 seasonal jobs were put on freeze. And then on February 14th, 8 year-round Acadia staff were unilaterally fired. We're seeing inroads with the seasonal staff hiring freeze coming undone, which is great for Acadia National Park to be able to hire some of the seasonal staff. But unfortunately, the year-round hiring freeze is still on hold. One thing that we'd like to mention, too, is that Acadia National Park, for every dollar invested in the National Park Service, it benefits our economy by $15. The Park Service in itself is a great contribution to our economy. Our members, our businesses, and our community rely on it. We're grateful to be up here today to speak in front of everyone and talk about why our National Park Service and their employees are so great for our community and needed. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Everal. And now I'd like to ask Scott Gagnon to come to the podium. Scott was the U.S. Health and Human Services employee here in Maine.
Good morning. My name is Scott Gagnon. I am a certified prevention specialist and lifelong Mainer living in Gray, Maine. with my wife and 3 children. Last June, I was hired as SAMHSA's regional director, so that's the Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, for Region 1, serving Maine and the rest of the New England states. As a federal behavioral health authority, I was a vital partner for the behavioral health leaders and workforce in Maine and New England to address the pressing mental health and addiction challenges facing the state. I ensured states had the technical support and resources they needed and was the first line of support when experiencing any issues related to the state's federal SAMHSA dollars. I was illegally terminated on February 15th, on my wedding anniversary, only 8 months into my role. The importance or the threats of my termination and that of 10% of the SAMHSA workforce is that it's going to put several programs and initiatives at severe risk. The fragile progress we've made addressing the opioid crisis, where we're finally starting to see overdose deaths go down. SAMHSA dollars and programs are a huge lifeblood for that progress. The progress we've made building the 988 suicide and crisis helpline and crisis response systems in Maine and New England and across the country. 25% of that staff has been laid off, along with my role to support the building of that program here in New England. And the progress we've made towards reducing the use of substances by youth and young adults in Maine and New England. Additionally, these cuts and the executive orders that are targeting DEI is putting a very chilling effect on serving marginalized and underserved communities and populations in Maine and New England. These unconscionable cuts and policy changes literally is putting lives on the line. But it's not too late. We need help from our federal delegation to fight for us, to save our jobs, and to save these programs for the health and well-being of all Mainers. I just want to add, after I wrote my comments, I learned that HHS is extending the national emergency for the opioid crisis. So my firing and the firing of 10% of our SAMHSA staff is in direct contradiction to wanting to address that, unless the administration is planning to go back to arresting our way out of the opioid crisis, which unfortunately the signs are there that seems to be where we're going. So that's another major thing I'm concerned about. So with that, thank you for having me. Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Next, I'd like to ask Jill Harlow, who is with the Maine Coast Fishermen's Association.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jill Harlow. I'm the COO of the Maine Coast Fishermen's Association. We're a nonprofit that was founded 20 years ago by Maine fishermen who were worried that their way of life was going to disappear if we didn't take action to rebuild our fisheries and level the playing field for small businesses. Today, our staff spends days navigating uncertainty and fear over what the chaos in D.C. means for Mainers. Now, to be clear, we expect some disruption with the new administration. Now, streamlining regulations, finding efficiencies, those are healthy things to be happening, but not the way they are happening. Now, the slash and burn tactics that are playing out in D.C. are having real unintended consequences for Maine's small businesses, the very small businesses that support this administration. This risks the families that these businesses support. It risks our coastal economies. It even risks the seafood that we love to have on our dinner plates. So to give some examples, we are deeply concerned about what's going on with NOAA fisheries. We are at high risk right now of seeing major fishing seasons delayed, fishing boats tied up at the docks for months. Now, the local staff is doing all that they can possibly do to expedite processes and enact emergency measures to try to get our guys out on the water catching fish. We can't expect that untenable level of staff commitment to go on indefinitely. It's a stopgap measure, and it's in nobody's best interest to have our fishing boats tied up at the dock. Whether you're an industry person or a conservationist, we can all agree we need better science to steward our oceans. That's not going to happen if we're cutting science staff and research funding. We need to be doing work to fix our stock assessments and to be doing high-end collaborative research that harnesses industry knowledge to steward our oceans. And then to just take it to a more fundamental level. Fishermen need good weather reports. That is not a luxury. That is a matter of life and death. It is a matter of safety at sea. There are lots of other examples we could give, but fundamentally today we are deeply grateful for the work that the delegation has already done to prevent losses for Mainers, and we are confident that with steadfast support, we can find ways to work with the administration to achieve better outcomes for Maine fishermen and for all of us.
Thank you, Jill. Next, I'd like to ask Tessa Corsetti to come up. Tessa was with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Service.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tessa Corsetti. I'm from Kittery, Maine, and until recently, I worked as a wildlife biologist for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I truly believe that there is no higher calling than public service. It allows me to do the work that I love for the people of Maine and beyond, while prioritizing conservation, education, and sustainability, and also supporting local communities and their livelihoods. Wildlife management and conservation play a vital role in Maine's economy and culture, and much of this work is done by civil servants. Our lobstering industry relies on data that tracks population health and sustainable harvest rates. Our moose and deer are closely monitored to assess how many tags can be sold each hunting season, ensuring that Mainers can continue to provide meat for their families year after year. Countless studies are being carried out on Maine's dwindling bat populations in the hopes of restoring the species and enhancing the ecosystem services that they provide. My job was to improve the efficiency of these efforts. Prior to my termination, I was working towards streamlining environmental review processes to increase efficiencies and enable sustainable development and progress, all the while protecting threatened and endangered wildlife. Federal agencies are being gutted, and the policies that protect wildlife on our public lands are under threat. As biologists, most of the work that we do is within public service, and my entire field is being dismantled before my eyes. Please know that as civil servants, we work for the people of Maine. Our loyalty is to you, regardless of who is in office or which party holds the majority. Thank you.
Thank you, Tessa. Next, I'd like to ask Ocean Crawford to come up. Ocean is a student at the Eastern Maine Community College and a recipient of supplemental nutrition assistance and a participant in me.
Good morning. My name is Ocean Crawford and I live in Bangor. Being a mother of 3 growing boys, ages 7, 10, and 19, the importance of providing consistent, balanced meals is at the forefront of my mind. The assistance I have received from SNAP has allowed me to do just that. The peace of mind knowing the SNAP Benefits program has provided not only nutrition, but physical and mental well-being. With that security in place, I am able to focus on my college endeavor as I am currently enrolled as a student at Eastern Maine Community College, enrolled in the Health and Human Services Associate's Degree program. I will work within my community to give back, contribute in helping others to build strong, solid foundations that every person and family are entitled to. My children have benefited greatly from MaineCare for all of their medical needs as well as dental. Without these 2 essential programs available, I can't imagine where we'd be. Peace of mind knowing we have these programs available until self-sufficiency is reached is invaluable. We live in a time where a little help goes a long way. SNAP and MaineCare are essential building blocks aiding my self-sufficient financial foundation of success. That would not be possible without these programs. I am proud, but not too proud. I am humble and I practice gratitude daily. These are qualities in which I instill in my children. These programs are for children. Children are our future. And from where I'm standing, the future has potential to be bright. Thank you.
Thank you, Ocean. And last, I'd like to call Alan White, who is an Air Force veteran and former employee at Togus VA.
Morning, everyone. My name is Alan White. I live in Winslow, Maine with my wife and 2 children. I moved to Maine in April of 2023 after 10 years of active duty service in the military. About a year after my initial arrival, I received a hiring notice from the Togus VA facility and was hired as a training technician. The position was vacant for years before my arrival, causing undue stress for the education service line and the employees to work overtime in the department. Well, not what I initially saw myself doing after the 10 years of service. I embraced the role and found a new sense of pride and purpose within the VA. After a few months at the VA, I was notified that I was one of the unlucky probationary employees being cut due to the Trump administration slashing of federal workforce. I received the email of my termination just past 7 p.m. when I was in the middle of tucking my 3-year-old daughter into bed, and our 1-year-old son was asleep in the next room. I am fortunate enough to be surrounded by the support and loved ones, but I can't help but feel betrayed. Betrayed by the lies and misinformation being spread about the termination, the justification of my termination, and I feel betrayed by an administration that claims to put veterans first. Supporting the troops is not just a catchphrase. We are people. We need to support young and old, past and present. To those who are fighting the wrongdoings brought on by the current administration, thank you. You help myself and others feel hopeful in these times of uncertainty. And unfortunately, we are living the real-life consequences of misplaced support, but remain hopeful that people will keep speaking out and will right these wrongs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alan. I think our speakers have given a good summary of some of the different ways in which the policies of the current administration are rippling through Maine and Maine's economy. And with that, we'd like to open the floor for any questions, and you can feel free to direct them directly to individual speakers, or we'll sort it out and figure out who should come up and deal with whatever question gets asked.